Greetings, ladies and gentlemen of the internet. Jan Michael here. Guillermo del Toro is one of the most creative directors working today. He is just a visionary master, creating universes, visuals that we would never be able to dream in our wildest imaginations. Films such as Hellboy, Pan's Labyrinth, and his Best Picture winning film, The Shape of Water, all show what he's capable of with some amazing designs, especially when it comes to the creatures. However, not every single one of his films strikes it out of the park. Films like Crimson Peak, Pacific Rim, and even Nightmare Alley, while all, yes, visually interesting, the story and characters just didn't elevate those stories past their initial concepts. Well, now we've got another interpretation of Mary Shelley's book, Frankenstein. And we have to see if this passion project of Guillermo's results in a fantastic piece of work, one of the best he's ever created. What do I think? Yeah, I'll tell you this. It's definitely better than whatever fuckery Universal was going to do with its Dark Universe project, so there's that. But as for the film itself, let's dive a little bit deeper and see what works and what doesn't.
My maker told his tale. And I will tell you mine.
I don't know if Frankenstein is still required reading in high school like it was for me, but in case you've never engaged with the story or have forgotten, Frankenstein follows the exploits of Dr. Victor Frankenstein, played here by Oscar Isaac, in his pursuit for curing death. He gets funding by a mysterious arms merchant named Heinrich Harlander, played by Christoph Waltz, who has a daughter, played by Mia Goth, who Victor falls in love with. Victor ends up bringing the creature to life, played here by Jacob Elordi, who is an amalgamation of different body parts that can heal any injury and seems to be immune to death. A success for Victor, right? Yet, as time goes by, he seems less and less sure that what created is the answer he once sought, and more that this creature is a monster that must be destroyed at all costs. And thus, we have our tale, which is quite over the top, and the writing here matches that perfectly. You need some over the top scenarios, writing, dialogue, because if it was playing it more seriously, I think it would be harder to take the overall product seriously. You need to have some silly moments, you need to have your actors overacting, and you need the over-the-topness that Guillermo is known for to really bring this story, pun intended, to life. And that's exactly what he does here. I will say, however, that the first half of the film does tend to drag somewhat, while the latter half, which is really, really good, does tend to end up cutting itself short, which is a shame. I feel that the original idea here was to make this like a 3+ hour epic, because once we start to get towards the finale, the film starts to speed through everything, as if the script had to be cut down. It's a shame that the latter half paid the price rather than the first, because it would have nailed its final emotional beats so much more if it had been given the opportunity to tell its tale more thoroughly. Now, please don't take that to mean that I think this needs to be an even longer film. Heavens no. What I think needed to happen here was that the first half needed to be cut down and given it to the second half. That would have made it a much better experience, in my opinion. On a technical scale, Frankenstein is a feast for the eyes, and it all begins here with cinematography. Cinematographer Dan Lawson has actually been working on the last couple of projects with Guillermo del Toro, minus Pinocchio, and here it's just another solid product. Guillermo films always have a very unique look to them, and right here is no exception. This definitely captures the world of Frankenstein in a way that only Guillermo can truly see it. It's Fantastic. I really don't have any negatives to say about the cinematography. There are some excellent shots here that still just pop up in my mind from time to time. Dan's been nominated for 3 Oscars now, each one for a Guillermo film. He has yet to win, but I think he definitely has the best chance he's ever had here. Each of these shots have scale to them, even when in a confined space. There are many times that the focus will be on this small, intimate moment, but the space used is ginormous. It gives the whole film a sense of scale that helps the production value breathe. These are some impressive sets, and if it weren't for the camera pulling out to show everything that's on display, you would not be able to appreciate everything the movie wants to show you. If there's one thing you just can't fault the movie for, it's in its look. Take a still from any scene in the film and you're bound to fall in love with its beauty. That's impressive cinematography and the reason Dan's most likely got a win coming here. Continuing Frankenstein's impressive technical skill, we have costumes next. And big surprise, they are also fantastic. Costume designer Kate Hawley has worked with Guillermo on a few projects, as well as the Hobbit trilogy. I thought for sure she had been nominated for an Oscar for her work in the past, but consider me surprised when I found out this was her first nomination ever. Once again, it feels like a shoo-in to win in this category with how great they fit the world and story. The best way I can describe these costumes is that they're cool. Now, personally for me, I don't need costumes to look practical. I wouldn't mind if they're over the top. Here they look like they'd be a pain in the ass to wear, but they're cool. They are colorful. They stand out. Like when somebody walks into frame, the first thing you notice about them is what they're wearing. And that's exactly what I personally like to see. If you want more practicality, I mean, this is probably not going to do it for you. You'll probably laugh at some of the designs here, but I love that over-the-topness. To me, I think just looking at the creature's kind of rags that he wears in like the iconic promo shots is probably the best example that I can use here. I mean, these things are like rags all stitched together, which, by the way, very appropriate for the creature. But when you see him move in it, when you see him talk behind the mask, when you see his eyes glowing behind the hood, that's cool. It makes you want to wear that. And for me, sometimes that's all you need for a film, for the costumes to just look cool. That's exactly what Frankenstein does with its costumes. Our primary focus here is in how the creature looks. Jacob had to sit in the makeup chair for about 10 to 12 hours each day for the makeup process. Makeup artist Mike Hill wanted to create a more man-made, stitched-together design rather than the zombie look the character had been portrayed like in the past. And it works. From the almost off-putting first introduction to the sympathetic nature that the creature ends up inhabiting, you're drawn to the design of the creature whenever it's on screen. If they had focused on a completely grotesque design, the moments of sympathy wouldn't have worked as well. And if the design was too pretty, we would probably be questioning other characters' reaction to him when they got scared. It's a good balance here. Now, not to be a broken record, but just like with the previous nominees, Mike has been working with Guillermo del Toro for some time now. And just like with the others, this is his very first Oscar nomination, and I think has a very good chance of taking home the win. I think in the sense of a lot of the technical sides of Frankenstein, it has a good shot at going home with those wins. And that's awesome because, yeah, again, on a technical craft, this is a feast for the eyes. You want to see this world, you want to experience this world, and if the technical aspects of it weren't up to par, you just wouldn't get that feeling. So once again, on a technical scale, I think Frankenstein is fantastic. I don't think it will come as a surprise for me to say that Alexander Desplat has once again created a score that just fits so perfectly into a world that he is working on. Here, it's another fantastical score showing that this man is truly one of the best composers working in Hollywood right now, because there's very rarely a time that he just doesn't knock it out of the park in some way or form. I will be trying to play the main score during my review so you can get a better idea of what it is that I'm talking about, and you'll have to excuse me for my lack of musical knowledge. This is definitely not my forte, but the best way I can describe the score here is that it plays up the over-the-top nature of the story in a way that it almost feels like parody, if that makes sense. Like, this isn't a subdued story, so a gentle score wouldn't have delivered the impact that it needed. So sure, the score starts off calm enough, but before we know it, it's ratcheting up to this epic conclusion that very much fits this world, especially that main scene. Can't you just picture the story in your mind as the music plays, the experiment continuing to grow in intensity, and the score matching that same energy? This is the genius of Alexander's work that I see. That even though I'm not proficient in explaining the process, that he still lets me understand what is being done with the work. It also helps that I feel I can play this outside of watching the film and get enjoyment out of it. Out of all the technical aspects of the film, production design is where I do feel I have the most mixed emotions. Now, just kind of just taking a look at it as a whole, there's a lot of really great things to admire in the designs. From this set where these horses are like frozen in ice, like that scene still like pops up into my mind, to the offices of Victor where you see his various experiments litter around. There's one where there's like just a person, like, I don't know, in this like weird like position. You could tell he's been experimenting on it. There are some truly standout moments here. But there's also things that took me out of the experience of the film as well. The biggest one for me is this giant castle pillar thing where the main experiment takes place. It never felt like a real place to me. I know it's based off an actual structure, but my God, this was like, to me, it felt like that kind of opening scene of like the Aqua Teen Hunger Force. It's just like, oh, here's a castle, lightning strikes, and it's just, it was so silly that every single time I saw it, I'm like, this does not look real. Like, they're not actually there, especially when you see the interior shots, and I'm like, what? This does not look what I pictured the inside of this place to look like. And then, like, in the main experimental place, there's like a giant hole in the middle of the floor with smooth edges that's just crying out for someone to slip into it. And I'm just like, why is that there? What did the kid just build this like out of Legos? Like, it'd be cool if there was a giant hole in the floor and people could fall into their deaths. And I don't know, those are the moments that really took me out of the film, where I'm like, that does just not seem practical at all. I'm so flabbergasted that this is where they decided to put the main experiment in. Like, this is where you're gonna have your iconic scene? Man, I was like, I just didn't understand it. Like, why couldn't they get, like, if you wanted to go over the top, make it over the top, but at least make it a design that makes sense. Every single time I saw this thing, I'm like, why would they build that? Why would they build it that way? I don't get it. Okay, ranting over, because as I said at the beginning, there are still plenty of great production design surrounding these scenes, and yes, sprinkled throughout these scenes as well. So while there are some areas where I'm like, okay, that seems stupid, there is so much more fantastic things that it completely overshadows the negative. So yeah, just when you get to those scenes, just be prepared. But overall, still another great technical achievement here. This will come as no surprise, but sound is also goofier than you would expect it to be. I mean, it is a Frankenstein film, so I guess you kind of do expect it to be a little bit weird. Look, there's a lot of sci-fi elements to it, especially with the experimental process. Beyond that, there's various gunfires, explosions, things getting hit with that hitting sound effect. I don't know what the official term of that is. People getting stomped on the ground or thrown against structure. Look, it's all over the top, but it's also cool. I gotta admit that. It's kind of like playing a video game or watching an action anime. Like, I feel like Guillermo del Toro is a fan of those things. I mean, he made Pacific Rim, so of course he is. But sometimes it's just so overblown, and here it works. It's a fantasy world. it's going to have fantastical sounds. It makes sense. So, I don't know, if the silliness of sounds are going to take you out of an experience, be prepared for that. But for me, it works here. So, I'm completely fine with what they had. One aspect that I truly do think holds the film back is its characters. I really did not like any of them, and I felt no connection with what they were going through. Victor is a one-note mad scientist archetype and goes through a jarring personality shift towards the end that made me think we were missing something. Like, some scenes had to be cut out. How did you get from here to here in the span of minutes? Like, Mia Goth's character is also underutilized, as is her father. Both are supposed to play important roles in how they're mixed into the story, but given that they're practically got nothing to do, like, I'm just surprised that they made any sort of, like, impact whatsoever. Oh, and I haven't even mentioned Victor's brother, who contributes absolutely nothing to the story. I mean, he might as well have just been written out of it. You forget about him whatsoever. Every single time he comes back on screen, you're like, oh yeah, I forgot about this guy. And yeah, his arc, there is no arc. He's just there. He's just an extra on stage that they decided to give him a role. So that's how little impact it is. Yeah, all these characters are squandered, which is extra grievous given how long the film is, which means we definitely had the time to expand on them, and they wasted it. The one exception to this, as you'll all have seen coming, is Jacob Elordi as the creature. Like, exactly what they do with him is so cool. Like, when you first see him, he is underutilized. He's just a creature. It barely says a single word, doesn't move, doesn't really do much of anything. The story really is from Victor's point of view, so he's not really in focus during the first half, even after he's introduced. And then you get to the second half where his point of view takes full frame. And that's really, once again, pun intended, where the story comes alive. I was completely on board following the creature's perspective and found myself wanting to continue his journey even when the story had concluded. What adventures would he encounter next? What interactions would he have? This film just gives us a small taste of this, and it's fascinating enough, which works because of how well Jacob plays it here. He's sympathetic, you understand his motivations, and he's badass, like having some of the coolest action scenes the film contains. This is the one shining star in terms of character and performance, and I'm so glad the Academy has deemed it fit to honor Jacob with an Oscar nomination for his role here. So with how well Frankenstein is going to do with the below the line categories, does that mean it has a serious shot at winning Best Picture? Unfortunately, the two don't always go hand in hand. Just ask Mad Max Fury Road. But even taking that out of the equation, this is a film that, yes, it's flawed, but it is still fascinating. It is a bit too long for my taste. I really wish they had kind of shortened it up, especially the first half of it. But once the film gets going, it's going to suck you in, and you're really going to gravitate towards it. I don't think it's Guillermo's best work, not by a long shot, but for a passion project, this could have been so much worse. So I'm glad that he was able to deliver something that was entertaining. And that's what we go to films for, right? To be entertained. This is entertaining. Having just enough life left, I give Frankenstein a 3.5 out of 5 with a recommendation to rent it. It's worth a watch, if even just once. It's not the masterpiece we were all hoping for, but I'm sure there will be plenty who will consider this experiment a huge success.
Now, run.
And that is all from me today. That is now 3 films down. We're speeding right along here. and we've got more coming. So don't forget to come back tomorrow, everybody. We'll have another Best Picture review for you. Let me know what you thought about Frankenstein. Do you think this was one of Guillermo del Toro's best? Was it okay? Was it one of his worst? I know there's people on all sides of the spectrum here, but I'm interested to see what your opinion is. Until next time, everybody, stay safe out there and have a good one.